Debra Morrison, a 42-year financial expert. Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 50 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Debra Morrison, a wealth building expert who has championed financial empowerment for women just like you for over 47 years. Yes, I've helped women secure their financial futures. And now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution. Yep, showing the world that at 50, 60, 70, and beyond, some of us might be a nickel slower, yet we are all just getting started. And our esteemed guest today comes to us from Cheltenham, England, United Kingdom, Dr. Denise Taylor. Dr. Denise is a chartered psychologist, later life researcher, and author of coming up on 10 books. One of the most foremost, Rethinking Retirement for Positive Aging. And her forthcoming book, Thrive Span, which we'll talk about, walking gently into what matters now. It's a pleasure indeed. And I'm wanting to give our listening audience the benefit of your wisdom. So we're going to jump right into it. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here.
Exactly. Well, let's get right into it. You have worked a great deal of your life, and now you have finished your doctorate degree, your PhD at age 64. Wow, chartered psychologist. And talk to us about this whole 60 to 80 phase of life that you talk about as a time of reflection, integration, and conscious living rather than, and I'll have you fill in the blank.
I mean, there's so many people out there who are saying we should just carry on working. Retirement is basically for wimps. Just keep going. You've got the energy, so why not? Now, the argument that I put forward is by all means do that if you want to, but the ages 60 to 80, roughly, it's not set in stone, could be your best time because financially, many, not all, many people are secure. You've completed a career and maybe you're thinking about what next. And most importantly, you've got your health. And I've met too many people who carry on working to 70 and beyond. And then they stop because their knees have gone, their back's gone, their hips have gone. And the plans they had to, motorcycle around Europe or something, they can't do it anymore because they left it too late. So by all means, carry on doing things, but bear in mind, your health is unlikely to last forever. So 60 to 80, I see as this golden time. Do what's right for you, and there's no one way to do it, and you can change your mind. But for me, having started work the month before I turned 16, because that's what it was like in the UK back in the day, back in 1973. I'd worked for 52 years. And it was, isn't this long enough? They're talking about a 100-year life and working for 50 years. I'm thinking, well, I've already done it. So I took 3 months off and thought, I want to do something different. And so I stepped back from retirement coaching, careers coaching, and focus much more on writing and just being rather than doing.
Oh, and you have a phrase that I've read about, inner alignment in olderhood. I love this because it's the alignment that you're bringing about, Denise. This is so rich because we tend to be focused on the externalities, what society rewards people for, men and women. And so I am so drawn into your work, and 10 books later, you are talking about this transition, if you will, the slowing down. Did it take a lot for you to incorporate this into your own life?
Yeah, well, I think the point it started was about 7 or 8 years ago when I did a vision quest, which is one of these rites of passage that you spend 4 days and 4 nights alone in nature with no technology and no tent and no food. But you get time without technology and without a clock. You've got time really to reflect. And to begin with, for the first probably 24 hours, my head was like whirling around.
Yes, of course.
And then I slowed and I was writing poetry and just making notes and just observing. And I think that began starting to think about rites of passage into later life. And then it was like, we can't carry on. Well, we could, but really, as humans, we shouldn't carry on till the end of our days,
Yeah.
just working at the same busy pace. That's not what life's all about, really. And it's about taking time to do what's right. And when I talk about walking gently, it's not just like sit there and do nothing. I'm not suggesting that people should just like watch TV and and eat
Of course.
snacks. But it's what's the beauty is, or what I'm finding with life now is like I don't have to rush anymore. I'm not juggling three or four things. I'm not thinking I've got a client, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and now it's like, you know what? I'm going to sit and actually drink my coffee and
Yeah.
just be. I don't have to drink my coffee and do my emails and have my head whirling around. And what's interesting is I'm actually producing more. I'm writing more.
Oh, wow.
My
Wow.
life is more fulfilled.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, there's the meaning, right? You have fine-tuned your meaning in this next stage of life, and you've exemplified your identity and now your production quite after not after the fact, but very interestingly, that's a great point because it's not like you're just glued to a TV channel. This whole psychological transition from achievement to meaning
Mm,
seems to have been very much helped along the way because you're the steward of a private woodland
yeah.
and you hold retreats and vision quest experiences. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I did my first vision quest, and then at the end of a year, because I'm a psychologist and older, and for various reasons, they said, "Would you like to train to be a vision quest guide?" And it was an old style apprenticeship. I spent 4 years helping out, and cleaning the floor and making the tea and sitting in and observing and picking up knowledge the old way.
Yes.
And gradually, it wasn't even that gradually, but taking on more and more of the holding the space and the talking with people and sharing knowledge. There's bits of it that I found quite easy to develop. So I'm doing that alongside doing my doctoral research, alongside COVID. So at that point, all my work had stopped anyway, because
Yeah.
who wanted to be a career coach during COVID? I mean, everybody's thinking like, how is life going to be?
Yes.
So it was I've almost like forgotten your question now. So
Well,
could you
in
just
other words, your transition yourself. I mean, it was
yeah,
very authentic, step by
yeah,
step.
yeah. Yeah, so now and oh yes, and so buying the wood. I bought the wood during the COVID period because every time I went into nature, there was too many people there, and too many people with their sort of dogs and children, and it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
noisy.
Yeah.
And alongside my partner, we were both talking about buying a wood. And we went and bought one together. And it's 4 acres. I don't know how,
That's
but it's a decent size amount of space, and it's mine. And I'm going there tomorrow to have photos done because the bluebells are out. The bluebells are glorious,
beautiful.
and I just want to have all these business photos done with me lying in the bluebells. So it's probably going to be raining, but never mind because whatever the weather is fine.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'm looking forward to those pictures. Okay, so this is something that you have come by very, very intentionally. I like this word intention because I think as women we are so caught up in the to-dos and the juggling because we do have a lot of things that are thrust on our plate from society and other things and real life circumstances. And this yet this nature of intention has drawn you, at least when I'm reading about the early pre-pub information on Thrive Span philosophy, a conscious path, right? Where well-being, purpose, and reflection meet. To talk to us about Thrive Span.
Well, it's interesting because I did most of the thinking for it in the wood. And then when I was thinking about how it was going to put together, it's like I'll use the wood as an analogy. So basically, the first chapter is you're arriving at the wood. And the first thing you're going to do is like breathe, be aware. What can I see, hear, feel? Because I have deer, I have all sorts of wildlife there.
Yeah.
And then rather than the standard section 1, section 2, section 3 with different chapters, I've
Okay.
written it on like being in a wood. So there's 3 paths. Which path would you like to go down? Let's go on the path of the first one of self and well-being. And you go down there and there's 3 glades. So it's like, why don't you go here and sit a while? And if you don't really like that path, there's another one you can go to. And there's no rush to do it. And
Very.
I was commissioned to write a book back in October. It came out in October. And that was a career coaching book aimed at well, it was aimed at career coaches for
Yeah.
people in midlife and beyond. And with that, there's loads of activities. Do this, do this. And it's like, I don't want to tell people to do anything. So it's like, so I call them gentle invitations. So it's like, you might like to reflect on. And my pre-readers were saying, they've never read anything like it, because every other book they've read about later life or retirement is always like, set your goals and get clear on your purpose and rush and do and be. Whereas I'm just saying, like, just see what happens, and you don't have to do anything actually. And it's sort of it really reflects a different way of becoming older. And it's certainly not saying give up and do nothing, because there's
Right,
chapters
right.
about joy, there's chapters about purpose, there's chapters about legacy. But it's like, but it's nothing that you have to do. And it's like, what's important to me right now? And the last thing I wanted to do, or the thing I avoided doing rather, was to have anybody rating themselves, because I've done that in the past. It's like, well, where are you? You're a 6. How can we get you to an 8? And it's like, does it matter?
Yeah.
Does it matter? I mean, you know what your health is like. You know what your relationship's like. You don't need to put a number on it.
Yes. Well, this is so rich because obviously, as we age, certain parts of our bodies start to act differently and respond differently. And
Mhm.
you formed this group called Amazing People in 1997, and you're really helping people support their decisions about work change and their personal direction. So the whole thing is, you're saying no longer are we talking about a single stop working event, but a more
Yeah.
flexible life stage. That flexibility, it has so many, definitions around it. I mean, our body's flexible, our minds are flexible, and sometimes not. So to help us be more flexible, to me, that is such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just reading on LinkedIn today about somebody who's basically saying retirement is for wimps. And because he's somebody who's got this sort of real sort of macho achieving lifestyle, and basically everybody should go for that. My reading of him was, and I'm just reading it going like, well, just because it works for you, you get up and you do a 10-mile run, and then you do this, and then you do that. It all sounded terribly exhausting. But it's like, but if it works for him, fine. But
Yeah.
if for somebody like me now, it's like, why don't you get up a bit slower? You still wake up at the same time, but you don't have to rush and do everything. And work out when's the right time to do it. And if the weather's really nice, why would I stay at home on my computer when I can go to the woods and laze in a hammock? So
And lie in the bluebell flowers.
quite.
Yeah. So you're really honing in on the aspect of retirement transitions, focusing on psychology. You're talking about health being central to retirement planning and not secondary to finances. I couldn't agree more. I always talk about financial wealth, physical, mental, relational, spiritual, and I also always say financial last, because boy, you lose that physical and mental, the money doesn't matter so
Just
much. Talk to us about that.
yeah. Yeah, but of course, money is important, because if if I think about people I know who in the UK, they have very limited pension, and they're having to work, and they've done a physically demanding job all their life, and
Right.
now they're working in the supermarket and on their feet a lot, and it's like, that's you talk to them about how are you going to find meaning in your life, and they just go like, I just actually want to sit down and have a rest, and for them it's very different than those of us who've been more professionals, and we've got more choices around that. But I do think later life is about looking for where you're going to find meaning. And again, a lot of people say you've got to keep on working, because that's where you get your meaning and purpose from your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, if that's all you really think about is work, then clearly you can't think of anything else. Whereas I can get meaning and purpose from going to my wood and picking up fallen branches. I can get meaning and purpose by stopping on the street and talking to a neighbour, or just looking at the daffodils with somebody I don't even know.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be this big thing,
Yeah.
because meaning and purpose. I often think about my granny, and if I said to my granny, who was born in 1900,
Yeah.
she's no longer with us, but like, so where do you get your meaning and purpose from, granny? And she'd have looked at me as if I was off my trolley, and which is a British phrase, but she'd
I
have gone
love it.
like, have you been on the sherry? Because I mean, older people, I mean, the generation before us, they weren't thinking about we need to get meaning and purpose. It was just part of their life, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. And we need to recalibrate that it's not necessarily part of this generation's life, be it on this side of the pond or on your side of the pond. I mean, this is amazing. And you talk about the best retirement transitions happen when people prepare for who they will be, not what
Yeah,
they will do.
yeah, yeah,
And these people that are working, so finances are tight and you're still working part or full time, the aspect of framing our mind about that work shift as being relational with people. Hey Bill, how you doing? I mean, I always talk about, I want you to work at Walmart for social rather than financial
yeah,
reasons. But if you're working there for financial reasons, let's add the social because this bifurcation and this separation from doing and being has to come closer together in my humble for healthy retirees, healthy people in olderhood.
yeah, yeah. And I like the word elderhood because people are starting to call people elders and elderhood. But my understanding from academic stuff I've done is like you can't just say I'm an elder because I'm old, because there's lots of older people who are still like teenagers, really. And
Exactly.
and people confer it on you, like if you're in some sort of, indigenous tradition or something. But I thought olderhood was a good thing because there's loads of ways that they're describing older people that are frankly quite rude. But I thought olderhood, you've got young time, you've got adulthood, and then everybody moves into olderhood, but not everybody becomes this wise, guru type person. But that I don't even think that it's about being a guru about it in older. It's about just being a bit more wise and a bit more thoughtful and just being there and not telling people what to do, but sort of saying, well, what do almost like a bit more like a coach, but not being a coach. But so when younger people are struggling, don't say, well, I think you should, because they need to work it out for themselves, but just be there to listen, because most of us have been there and done it, and
Yes.
we know it doesn't work, but we can't tell them because everybody's got to learn it for themselves.
Yes. Yes, it won't stick for sure, and it'll probably be repulsive. You talk about reflect, review, and renew. I love the alliteration. These are
Yeah,
such good words for all of us at any age, and especially at olderhood. You're so right. All the stereotypes that fall into place when you say elder, it displaces so many of us who are not decrepit, right, and don't intend to be. But you talked about olderhood, and we're all going to get there if we're lucky, Dr. Denise.
yeah,
If we're
absolutely.
lucky. And so
Yeah,
let's, like, when you think of it logically, like people on their deathbed, if you're able to talk with a person on their deathbed, they are not talking about how many quarters they beat the Standard and Poor 500. No, they are not. And so, wouldn't it be wise of all of us at any age to listen to what people are reflecting upon in their last hours, days, weeks, and present value it back and incorporate
yeah,
that into our lives so that we don't like spin off a whole bunch of years that didn't have a lot of meaning to them. Boy, what a
mm,
waste.
yeah. And there's a lot of that about thinking about our relationships with people, but I also think there's about our relationships with the wider world. So I know somebody who cleared a path, and it was all covered in brambles and things, and nobody could really walk there. And every day he'd go out for an hour or so just clearing it up. And he said, like, then he noticed the dog walkers were going through and runners were going through, and then he got a bench put, and it was like, and nobody had asked him to do it. And he's a quiet man, so he didn't do it to talk to anybody,
Yeah.
but he just, and I just thought, wow, what an inspiration! I love his story, because that's the sort of thing that you want to do, isn't it? It's like pick up the litter, do these little things that make a difference to people's lives.
Yes. And if you're an extrovert, go to the adult communities and talk with these people that don't have any relatives or kids or someone that's visiting
Mm,
them. I mean, this act of social interaction is so rich because, well, one, if we like, all you need to do if you're in a bad mood is go into a children's hospital and look at all the illnesses, and not even
mm,
children, anyone. And then you thank your lucky stars. You have what you have. And some of it is luck and some of it is planning. But this whole aspect of focusing in on our being, before we're on our deathbed. And your books are completely resonant to the people, and the exercises and so forth are very, very helpful. So talk to us about some of the exercises that can shift people that have been long ensconced, decades long in this. We're valued by what we produce and what we do.
But I mean, if I think about my book since getting my doctorate, the first book was, which came out 3, 4 years ago, was Rethinking Retirement for
Yes.
Positive Aging. And the publishers added the for positive aging. They go like, people search for that term. I go like, it's not really the thing. But anyway, so that one is a very, very good book to go alongside financial guidance about covering all the things that you need to cover in retirement. It's really good because it's all based on proper academic research. And then the one that came out last year, Career Coaching for Midlife and Beyond, was aimed at professionals, and that is full of all sorts of activities for people 50s, 60s, 70s. And then we come to the latest one that's out on the 2nd of June called Thrive Span. And interesting, the cover is, I kept on saying, I don't like the cover. You're just not getting what I want. And then I sent them a picture of my wood, and I got AI to make it impressionistic. And I said, that's what I want. I've done this in AI in 3 minutes. Can you just do it like properly? And eventually we got there. But the book, as I said, it's not full of activities to do. It's what I call gentle invitations. So it's just getting you to ponder about and think about things. And I've got quite a few examples of people's stories, because obviously we learn a lot through stories. But there are things at the end of every chapter. There's some things to ask you to reflect on if you want to. Nothing is compulsory, but it's just to get people thinking about later life as something that they want to step into. And when I tell my younger friends, younger contacts, they go, I want to read your book as well. They go, I'm thinking, you're
Yes,
only
of course.
30. But even, but so it's relevant for all ages, but particularly when you're thinking about, I just want to take a sort of a bit of a slower approach now. I don't want to be that full on, I got to go get it. Because
Yeah.
I mean, looking back now, it's just exhausting what I used to do. But you do
Exactly.
that, don't you, younger?
We do that until we don't, until we're wise enough to intend not to do that.
Yeah.
So the time has flown by as I knew it would. And Dr. Denise, tell our viewers how they can be in touch with you, because I'm going to give our viewers a gentle invitation to be in touch with Dr. Denise. How can they do
Okay.
that?
The best place to see me or to connect with me is on Substack. And I really hope people read Substack because there's so many useful people there. But I write 3 times a week, and I write detailed essay. Well, yeah, I guess they're essays really, but they're based on academic research, but through the lens of my experience as well. And that's taking off really well. I'm getting increasingly number of subscribers, and well over 2,000 now. So that's the best place for my writing. And the book, it's already available for pre-order as a Kindle, because we can't put it for pre-order as a paperback because we're still doing the final changes to the text. It has to, I mean, it's my baby. I mean, it was 7 years in the making. So this book, every word has to be
Perfect.
right.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
totally. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so very much. We are going to have you back because we have just scratched the surface. We thank you, Dr. Denise Taylor, for sharing just a nickel's worth of your wisdom with us. It has been rich beyond words. Thank you so very much. And
Oh,
thank you,
thank you.
our audience, for joining us on the We Can Do It Women show. Remember, I see you, I value you, and your greatest chapter is just beginning. And if today's episode sparks something in you, I invite you to check out Dr. Denise's work and be a member and an active member of the We Can Do It Women Facebook group, where we're going to share what it is we are challenged with, or our next envisioned stage of life, and how we will be in that. And let's be a part of this wonderful collaborative community. So I always remind us, of course, as a financial planner, pay attention to your money. It will always pay you back, and be overall intentional about your life. It's not a dress rehearsal. Until next time, be well.